萨萨玛哈列声悉地吽。唵那吽咕噜贝阿克萨萨玛哈列声悉地吽。唵那吽咕噜贝阿克萨萨玛哈列声悉地吽。萨萨玛哈列声悉地吽。唵那吽咕噜贝阿克萨萨玛哈列声悉地吽。唵那吽咕噜贝阿克萨萨玛哈列声悉地吽。萨萨玛哈列声悉地吽。唵那吽咕噜贝阿克萨萨玛哈列声悉地吽。唵那吽咕噜贝阿克萨萨玛哈列声悉地吽。唵那吽萨萨玛哈列声悉地吽。唵那吽咕噜贝阿克萨萨玛
阿弥陀佛，大家吉祥，早安、午安、晚安。
Amitabha, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It's a pleasure to have everyone here today for today's class. And then our MC is actually from Malaysia. And today's class, similar to previous lessons, there would be 3 different languages. And today it would be on chapter 2, a detailed exposition of the complete Tantric sadhanas. And today would be lesson 15, emerging from Samadhi, chanting principal heart mantras, and reciting Buddha's epithet. So similar to previous lessons, do rename your Zoom name. And also feel free to comment within the chat box. And we would like to have a big welcome to Shi Lianru 教授师. And we have all the supportive leaders. We have the different Dharma instructors as well as Dharma assistants. Including some of the participants, such as Dharma brother Lao Zhong. We have DA Lianhua Dewang. And we have our education department head, Master Lian He. We have Dharma Sister Lianhua Xianglan. We have Dharma Sister Ke Ming. So do actually change your Zoom name to your Dharma name so that we can recognize you and we can have a more fruitful engagement. And we would like to once again welcome all Dharma propagators and all Padma Kumaras from all around the world to join us today. And similar to previous lessons, our lecturer is Master Lian Yi. And today there will be a more elaboration on the benefit on emerging from Samadhi, chanting principal heart mantras, and what are the benefits of reciting the Buddha's epithet. So we hope that everyone can listen closely and gain much from today's lesson. And you have any questions along the way, you can keep to yourselves first, and at the end you can input within the comment box, or you can also just unmute yourself and ask those questions verbally. And we are down to just 1 minute to the start of the lesson. And let us see if, yes, so our lecturer, Master Lian Yi, is already online. So everyone prepare yourselves. Just another minute and we will officially start today's class. All right, and now it's 8 p.m. and we will kickstart our True Buddha Tantric Dharma class. And now we'll firstly just put our palms together and pay homage to our root lineage guru, Living Buddha Lian Sheng, our lineage gurus of the True Buddha School. And we pray that our Grandmaster will bestow light on us and hope that today's learning will be smooth. Now we form the Padma Kumara Mudra and recite the heart mantra 7 times. Om Guru Lian Shen Siddhi Hom, 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 Om Guru Lian Shen Siddhi Hom. Amitabha, welcome, Honorable Chairman Master Chen Zhu. We have our lecturer, Master Lian Yi. We have Education Director, Master Lian Ha. We have our Public Relations Director, Master Lian Jia, Master Lian Hui, or Master Senior Reverends, Dharma instructors, assistants, and fellow disciples. Good day to all. Amitabha. We're glad to still have everyone today continuing to clock in the different lessons. So we are very glad that last lesson we actually looked into the lesson on entering Samadhi. And today we'll be looking at lesson 15, which is emerging from Samadhi, chanting principal heart mantras, and reciting Buddha's epithet. And now let's welcome our lecturer, Master Lian Yi, to deliver today's class. And now, firstly, we put our palms together. Pay homage to our root lineage Guru Living Buddha Lian Sheng, TBS lineage gurus, all Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, Mahasattvas, and our Dharma protectors of the shrine. Honorable Chairman Master Chen Zhu, Honorable Education Director Master Lian Ha, PR Director Master Lian Jia, Master Lian Fei, all Masters, several reverends, Dharma instructors, Dharma assistants, fellow disciples, and our MCs and all supporting leaders, Amitabha. And today we will continue with today's lesson, which is emerging from Samadhi, chanting principal heart mantras, and reciting the Buddha's epithet. So now let's have a bit of a recap. The question is, what is the main purpose of cultivation? So if you know the answer, you can input within the comment box. So some people indicate entering Samadhi, entering some form of meditative stability state. Second question, so entering Samadhi, there are 4 different conditions. Please write down one of them. Yeah, most people have actually indicated no thoughts. Some people indicated no form. The third one is non-abiding, and we also have non-awareness. And the third question, so it is important to enter the Samadhi. What will be transformed into wisdom through the entering of the Samadhi? Yes, so it's actually one's consciousness that is being transformed into wisdom. And yes, let's move on to the preface. When do we emerge from Samadhi? So in the sequence of cultivation practice, entering Samadhi is part of the main practice. So when exactly do we emerge from Samadhi? So some actually sit for a longer period of time while others sit for a shorter period of time. So it's difficult to determine how long one must sit. So what Living Buddha Lian Sheng has taught so far is to be natural. So being natural is the most important in the process of practicing, entering and emerging from Samadhi. Being natural is the most important. So in a lot of the talks given by Living Buddha Lian Sheng, being natural is actually most important. So remember, someone has asked Grandmaster this question: as we diligently practice now, will we be able to return to the Maha Twin Lotus Pond in the future? And Grandmaster actually responded that doing well in the present will naturally lead to success in the future. So doing every day's homework is important. So in the time of the Buddha, there was a monk named Bhikkhu Daka. So he is considered to be someone who is quite dull-witted. So whenever the Buddha taught in the morning, he would forget everything by the afternoon. And when the Buddha taught in the evening, he would have forgotten everything by the next day. So Bhikkhu Daka was really deeply troubled and didn't know what to do. And he went to seek guidance from the Buddha. And the Buddha merely advised him, firstly, is to guard his speech by abstaining from idle chatter, all forms of gossiping, as well as harmful speeches. So after some time, Bhikkhu Daka was able to discipline his speech and abide by all the instructions that are being outlined by Buddha. And the Buddha also instructed him to guard his mind, to keep it radiantly pure and fill it with more goodwill and compassion at all times. So gradually, Bhikkhu Daka actually began to experience a radiant light within his mind. And he also saw that the external surroundings was filled with light. So the entire world was filled with light. And eventually he attained the realization of becoming an arahat. So this story actually highlights the importance of guarding both our speech and mind in the process of our spiritual practice. And they are essential for purifying our thoughts and actions, leading to the ultimate attainment of awakening. So as we go about our daily life, it is important to look within ourselves and being mindful of our speech and mind. So Bhikkhu Daka, he is someone with he is not someone who is very knowledgeable, but he was able to guard both his speech and mind. Yeah, so ancestral gurus have also emphasized that in the process of being natural, there must also be some form of definition. So it's not entirely letting nature take its course. And next, so there's a saying that when a practitioner receives the happiest sensation during Samadhi, that would be a better time to emerge from Samadhi. Because if the practitioner has the sensation of pleasure, joy, and peace, he or she would more likely be willing to sit for a longer time in the future. And the practitioner will also enjoy the practice of entering Samadhi in their daily cultivation. So this sensation of pleasure, joy, and peace is crucial. And if the practitioner feels that there is no sensation of peace and joy during Samadhi, the practitioner will not do it. Hence, some ancestral gurus actually say that it's best to emerge from Samadhi during the state of calmness. It is when the candle is being lit, there's no wind blowing, and it's very bright with no loss of light. At this time is actually the best time to emerge from Samadhi. And this is a very good condition to emerge from Samadhi. And most sayings actually indicate that the time to emerge from Samadhi is when the practitioner's mind is focused, very bright, pure, and free from delusions, because the sensation that's being experienced at this point is the most peaceful. So after experiencing a sense of tranquility once, the practitioner would then tend to prefer to practice Samadhi every time. Okay. So Master Lian would just like to share that in schools or in established companies. So actually practicing some form of meditative stability is quite important. So in a particular school, because of the environment that they live in and grow up in, many of the students are somewhat bad. So the principal and the teachers are deeply troubled because there are many cases of fighting, violence, and so on. So many of the students there are being deemed as bad, and there's not much hope to bear for them. So they looked at another way of teaching them, which is to look at some form of meditation as a form of punishment. So instead of looking at those traditional ways of punishment, they were put into the practice of meditation, and this proved to be quite effective. And surprisingly, the number of cases of violence and fighting have decreased, and those students have since not engaged in acts of violence. So this way of teaching the students proved to be quite effective. And even when the students are put through this meditation process, for those so-called good students, it also improves their learning along the way, given that they have improved their concentration. So what should be the duration of Samadhi? So why does the length of time not matter? Because similar to our sleep, some sleep for a shorter period of time, others sleep for a longer period of time. So it ultimately depends on each individual's physical condition. Now, Master Lian feels deeply regarding this idea of sleep. So he actually woke up really early all the way until now. So he feels not in the best condition at the moment. It's a bit cloudy in his mind. So when a practitioner truly learns Samadhi, it gets very deep and precise during practice, and the feeling is completely clear. There is no delusion at all, and it's very comfortable. So the pleasurable sensation of lightness and peacefulness circulates throughout the body, and is very profound. So even within a very short period of time, the practitioner is able to sense it. So when we are talking about the duration of the time, I'd like to share another story about monk Guanqing. He is someone highly accomplished in the practice of meditation. Once he go into that state, he actually will maintain in that deep state for several months. So after remaining in meditation for 4 months, a woodcutter was chopping wood in the mountain, and he was looking at monk Guanqing. He was just sitting there. He hasn't moved. So he realized that monk Guanqing wasn't even breathing, and he was wondering if he has even already passed away. So this woodcutter actually went to report this to Chanting Temple. So he actually told he actually reported that monk Guanqing is just there sitting for very long. So the abbot of the temple, he also thought that maybe he has actually passed on. But after thinking, they actually wanted to seek guidance and verification from the esteemed Master Hong Yi for his judgment on whether monk Guanqing was still alive or has already passed on. And at that time, Master Hong Yi told them not to do anything. Let him do an assessment on site. And Master Hong Yi rushed to monk Guanqing, and he actually exclaimed that this level of meditative state is rarely seen. Master Hong Yi actually lightly snapped his fingers like 3 times beside the ears of monk Guanqing, and after a short time, venerable monk Guanqing actually emerged from this meditative state. So it is actually not abnormal for someone to enter such a condition when they are in a very deep state of meditation. Okay, we'll move on. So when Buddha's light is bestowing on the practitioner will feel very comfortable. It is a good time to emerge from Samadhi. So when the practitioners experience the sensation of lightness and peacefulness, it is a good time to emerge from Samadhi, which was what we covered just earlier on. And now we look at the environment from Samadhi. So living Buddha Lian Shen tells everyone that during Samadhi practice, the issue regarding environment is very important. It's better to practice Samadhi in front of the Tantric altar with the door locked so as to eliminate the trouble of being disturbed. Because in this way, the practitioner's body and mind will not be frightened during the state of Samadhi. So the surrounding environment during Samadhi practice is very crucial. Hence, the time that a practitioner emerges from Samadhi will also be affected by the environment. So it's good that when we practice Samadhi, it's good to have our own environment. So actually the CEO of Apple, Steve Jobs, he himself actually has been to India for spiritual retreat for 7 months, during which he actually specifically studied meditation. And after returning to the US, he actually continued to meditate every day. And he has an experience of 34 years. So Steve Jobs actually used meditation to help himself and also his career. So when he is troubled on certain decisions that he needs to make, be it designs of the products or other issues, he would actually meditate within his office space, which actually is over 200 square meters. He dedicated that space for meditation. So the office was nearly empty, just one meditation cushion there. So he persisted in meditation daily, and also even before making decisions, he will have his employees gather around the cushion and place the designs, and then he will close his eyes and meditate before deciding. And next will be chanting principle heart mantras. So in Tantric Dharma sadhanas, after emerging from Samadhi, we actually chant the principal heart mantras. So we have Om Amitevasi, which is Amitabha heart mantras. Om Mani Padme Hum, which is the Avalokitesvara Bodhisattva heart mantra. We have Om Brahmolintoling Soha, which is the Siddhi Gaba Bodhisattva mantra that eliminates fixed karma. Om Haha Vesamoya Soha, which is the Siddhi Gaba Bodhisattva heart mantra. Om Zui Zui Junti Soha, which is the Maha Junti Bodhisattva heart mantra. We have Om Chambala Chanan Chana Ye Soha, which is the yellow Chambala heart mantra, and so on. So these are the 8 principal heart mantras. So the purpose of reciting the heart mantras of the 8 principal deities is to pray for an affinity to be formed with them, and with all Buddhas from the 10 directions and 3 existence, and all Bodhisattvas and Mahasattvas. So when we recite the heart mantra of the 8 principal deities, each mantra can be recited once, 3 times, or even 7 times. The number of recitations actually don't make a difference. If you have more time, you can chant more, but if you have less time, chanting once is also acceptable. And moving on. All right, time for a little quiz. And now we will pass on to DA Lian to conduct the quiz. And let us share the screen for the quiz. So now we have the instructions for the quiz. So within the comment or the chat box, you can follow you can actually enter the website depending on your preferred language. You can select accordingly. So we have 3 languages here. Sure that everyone is quite familiar with this by now. It will give everyone around 30 seconds to enter the quiz. And alternatively, you can look at just entering www.menti.com and indicate the corresponding code depending on your preferred language. So for Chinese, you will look at that code. English, you'll look at that code, which is 75117710. And for the Indonesian language, you can look at that particular code. And we have everyone progressively entering the quiz. Just another 30 seconds for everyone to enter the quiz. And so similarly, today we have 2 rounds. If you don't wish to join or you can't enter for whatever reasons, maybe technical difficulties, you can also enter your answer within the chat box. That works as well. Okay, another 10 seconds before we kickstart the quiz segment. Now, currently, we have around 30 participants. All right. And Master Lian Yi is all ready for the quiz.
问题一，莲生活
And
佛
question 1.
修定、入定及出定的
So in the
过程
process of entering and emerging from Samadhi, what is the most important? 1 is mantra recitation. A is mantra recitation, B is being natural, C is visualization. So you can indicate your answer via Mentimeter or keying in within the chat box.
B.
And answer is B, which is being natural. And question 2. Living Buddha Lian Sheng said, the environment chosen for meditation is very important. Which of the following is not suitable? A is like a public square. B is a tantric altar or shrine. B is a serene environment. And everyone has voted in Mentimeter. We can look at the results now.
答案是 A.
Yes, so A is the correct answer, which is like a public square or like a public space kind of environment. And now, based on those 2 questions, let's look at the leadership board. And currently, coming in first, we have 天使仙女. Over at the Indonesian channel, we have Vanny coming in first. So congratulations to her. And within the English channel, we have Lotus coming in first. And right now, we will return the time back to our lecturer, Master Lian Yi. So right now, we will move on to the merits of reciting the Buddha's Epithet. So what are the merits of reciting the Buddha's Epithet? So the Pure Land is a door that oversees everything based on upper, middle, and lower roots. The 5 rebellions and 10 evils actually manifest in hell. And with one recitation of devotion, one can actually ascend to the other shore.
那讲到这个念佛呢，记得有这么一个真人真事的。
So there's actually this real life case.
台湾的女大专生
In Taiwan, there was a female college student.
很喜欢玩那个橡胶船我不知道
So
大家有没有
she
玩
likes
这个
to
橡胶船
embark
那
on
么
this
她
banana
一直
boat.
去玩这个橡胶船
So
在海上
she actually
那么
went
有
on
一
a
天呢
trip with her
遇到
friends,
那些大风浪把他们的橡胶
but they were
船
met
打
with rather
那很快她就
bizarre
救上
weather
她的另外一个朋友
conditions.
救上来的。那么她本身呢这个女大专生呢
So for this college
那个风
student,
浪一直卷她越
she
卷
was
越
being
远
swept
然后
by
很快就
the
卷
sea
到
waters.
进这个大海之中，所以她只是穿着这个救生
So
衣，
only with a life jacket
在
on,
大海中摘浮摘沉，
she
身
was
体是真的很
she was being
所以
swept all around by the sea waters.
一肚子又饿
And
整
the
个
weather was really cold.
所以在那
The
个时候
conditions
呢
were really bad
她
at
心里
sea.
想哎呀都要放
And
弃了。那当时她忽然就想到，那她
when
的
internally
老师
she wanted to give up,
就告诉她，
but she actually
如
thought of
果
something.
你
Also, her
真
mother
的
is
回
actually a
去自己
devotee
身
of
边呢，你
she's a
记得
devoted
靠
Buddhist,
所以她忽
and
然
she
就
actually
想
reminded
到
her that
她母亲
you need
跟
to
她说过的
recite
这些话，
Amitabha
所以她就一直
Buddha.
念佛，一直念脑
So
子里念
she
佛，
she
阿弥
took
陀佛。
on that advice
所
and
以她真的是
continuously
念
recited
佛
Amitabha
感
Buddha,
觉
Amitabha
自己
Buddha.
就有一股力
And
量
within the vast
支
ocean,
撑着她。
he
所以
actually
在
felt
那
that there
个
was like
要
a
上
support
船的时候，
given,
她一直在念
there
佛，
was some form of
她就
energy
有这个
that was
力量
provided to her.
支持着她的。所以她经过多长时间呢？在
And
那
after
个
a really
海
long
上
time,
一直漂了整21个小
after
时。
floating in
想
the
一想
sea
这
for
个
many,
救
many
生员
hours,
在海中央一直漂了21个小时，
after 21
一直
hours,
到了第二天，才有一个
only
大
the
的一个
next day
船
was
经过那边
she
把她
finally
救
being
上来。
rescued
所以
by
很
one
多
of
人看
the
起来已经虚脱，但是
the
她
shipping
没有
boats.
生命的危险。所以这个故事也是简单的告诉我们，有
So
时
this story
我
also
们
tells us that
念佛真的是
when we
对我们
recite
很有帮
the
助，持咒
Buddha's
功德也
epithet
是一样。所以我们
is
在
really
平时有
beneficial,
的功课就是让自己
similar to the
随
merits
时
of
当有
chanting our mantras.
一些危
And
危险的
when
时
we
候呢，
face
有时
certain
真的
difficult
可以
situations
帮助我们。
and
所以
especially
我记得
dangerous
很
ones, it would really
多
help
的
us.
弟子呢，当他遇到这
So
些
we know
危
that
险
there are
的时候，
many
他
TBS
一句
disciples
话
whenever
念
they
咒
meet
真的能够帮助他。因为我最记得我们
whenever they
家
meet
我们
maybe a certain
从温哥华出去
dangerous
参加
situations,
师尊的
chanting
灵
mantras
修
have actually
法会
helped
的时
them.
候，有时你知道美国这些车开得很快的，那同门家
So
师
in US, we
真
actually
的
know
有
that
开
the
车，真
vehicles
的有一次真的
they
很快，
actually drive really, really quickly.
两车去到了旁边那些旁边的路上，那个师姐呢，一直师尊救命！
So we had
我
a
们
Dharma
以后真的在那边
sister
马上停
who
没有
was
发生
actually
任何
involved in like a car
有时真的
accident.
是很
The
离
car
谱，
was pushed
所
to
以
the
我
side
们
of the
要
road,
做一些
and
功
then
课，
she
念一些
quickly
持咒，
recited,
继续
actually sought help from Grandmaster and actually chanted the mantra,
偶遇
and it
的
actually
事，
helped her.
诸佛
So this is
与
really
缘
crucial.
分离，随机
So what
成
are
缘，
the
因缘
merits?
际呢，
And right now we
众
look at
生多能，
what
能
Master
往
OE
往
once
上
said.
边
So
的呢，
he actually mentioned that all Buddhas are
人生
compassionate towards lost
自
beings
尊者，
and save them based on
多度
opportunities.
成佛，
While there are no two ways to return to the
所以
origin,
大师
there are
也是
many
主张
convenient methods.
很鼓励就是念佛，
So Master OE always
何
has
为咒？
in the past he encouraged people
咒
to
就是
chant
佛菩
the
萨
Buddha.
秘密语，被称为真言，真言陀罗尼。
So the mantra is the secret language of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, and is also known as true words. The true words of the Dharma are wise words of the Tathagata, and the secrets of the Tathagata can lead to one obtaining holy wisdom.
那周语宗喀巴如是说，念佛
So
佛之
Tsongkhapa actually said that reciting the Buddha's reciting Buddha is actually reciting the epithet of the Buddha, which is the title. Chanting mantra is chanting the mind of the Buddha. Chanting mantras allows one to connect to yoga, that is to eliminate hindrances and to increase wisdom, to turn from a mortal to saint and have powerful divine power. This is really unbelievable, which is why it is a secret. And in terms of reciting Buddha's epithet and chanting mantras, Living Buddha Lin Sheng advocates that both are doable. There's no distinction between them. So we have actually mentioned before that medicine has no distinction of value, is effective when treated according to the symptoms. So Dharma itself also has no superiority or inferiority. It becomes easy when it is a favorable opportunity. So it depends on the situation, circumstances. Each have its own merits. So we had a disciple. He or she does his own businesses. He is around 60 years old, very busy with his businesses. He doesn't do any cultivation practice, but he would chant GM's mantra. In front of the altar, he will do his own offerings. So on this day, he actually was carrying quite a lot of cash to the bank. He got his chauffeur to bring him there. And when along the way, so he wanted to pick up something from one of the shops along the way. And when he entered the shop, suddenly there was two people who intruded the shop and asked everyone to freeze and asked everyone in the shop to surrender their belongings. And then this disciple, so he pretended to take out $10 from his wallet. So when the robbers, and in front of the robbers, he recited Om Guru Lian Shen City Home. So when the robbers hear that, he thought that he was mentally unsound and asked him to stand at the side. And the robbers quickly grabbed whatever that they could and left. And this disciple, when he told Master Lian Yi, yeah, it was quite profound that just reciting Grandmaster's heart mantra actually led to actually saved him from the situation. So actually, for such situations, when we face them or face any challenging times, chanting the mantra or reciting the Buddha's epithet would actually help. So normally when we look at our daily cultivation, when we recite the Buddha's epithet or we chant mantras, all these actually possess some form of energy and power. We maintain this warmth and temperature, and so this energy is existing and continuously belongs, it surrounds you.
持大师主张专持阿弥陀佛名号，一生一切诸于功德，持名这知心念佛一生，即灭81劫生死重罪。
So actually in the past, Master Lian Shi, he advocated that chanting the Amitabha's epithet alone would actually surpass all other merits. Chanting it alone and reciting the Buddha from the heart will eliminate 8 billion calamities of life and death as a grave offense. And actually reciting it 10 times, one will not retreat from the Pure Land after entering, and this recitation has an invincible power and response. So with a concentrated mind, eliminating delusion, seeing Buddha's nature is a great wisdom mantra. Being reborn in Pure Land and ultimately becoming a Buddha is the supreme mantra. Obtaining the fruit of the ability not to be perturbed by anything, returning to the Saha world and save sentient beings is the unequaled mantra. And Master Lian Shi actually said that by reciting the Buddha's epithet, it is equivalent to reciting the great spiritual mantra, the great wisdom mantra, the supreme mantra, and the unequaled mantra. And Living Buddha Lian Shi also praises it to cultivate the secret true words. Living Buddha Lian Shi says that the mantras are as follows. It is the Tathagata's mind. It is also Tathagata's vision. All dharmas without being tainted. We have blessings of we have Vaikravana blessings, no rebirth and actually possesses immortality. We have the lotus womb. We have Avaja truth, true wisdom, culmination of emptiness, inseparable between the environment and action, no difference, no appearance, lasting nature, original nature of awakening, without taint and being to shield and become a Buddha. So Living Buddha Lian Shi says that mantras are endless treasures. These 15 points alone are already incredibly difficult to contemplate. So actually reciting the mantra, it is actually reading Tathagata's mind. So these 15 points alone, they are already very difficult to contemplate. They cover all aspects of the Dharma realm. They are omnipotent and endless in terms of purpose. They are eternity, bliss, true self-purity, as well as emptiness. So let's recap on eternity, bliss, true self, and purity. Yeah, and in the innumerable worlds in the 10 directions, they are as numerous as dust particles. These are gateways to the great compassion and the practice of the Bodhisattva's paramita. So they are like the jeweled treasure of the Huazang, which is a Huazang like the flower treasury. And the 3 vehicles, which are Theravada, Mahayana, and Vajrayana, and the 6 realms, they are all interconnected and shining. They are like the roots, stems, branches, and leaves of a flower. So with such complete virtues, they are being named the mandala of many jewels. And Living Buddha Lian also once said that as long as it is a secret mantra that is passed down by His Holiness, the practitioner needs to receive empowerment and establish the spiritual connection. And there will be this sound wave induction being produced with His Holiness, which is the yoga. So in this way, chanting the mantra creates rapport, and because sound possesses supreme energy, chanting mantras will actually produce this energy, which is the frequency of the vibration. Moreover, due to the supreme power of tantric mantras, successive bhaja masters have established rules for imparting dharmas in order to protect and inherit the true words of the tantric mantra and to prevent them from being misused by evil minds. So this is also one of the reasons why tantric mantra is not being passed down rather recklessly, and this became like a secret. Because we do have some people who misuse these mantras for unideal and inappropriate purposes. So right now there is a very strict requirement you need to actually be a disciple, and you actually need to receive empowerment. And Living Buddha Lian when teaches the practice of reciting Buddha's epithet during Bardo. So we can look at reciting the Buddha's epithet that is often recited by the practitioner to awaken him or her. And in terms of selection of the mantra, you can look at chanting the one that is being often chanted by the practitioner. This is the tantric mantra that awakens the practitioner. So once this mantra is being recited, a spiritual connection is established, and one can make use of this mantra to gradually ascend and combine with the light of wisdom. So there is a method of chanting the epithet of the Buddha that gives merits equivalent to 2,000 counts of chanting. And during Shakyamuni Buddha's time, there was an old couple who used a bucket of grain to record the number of times that they chanted Amitabha Buddha. They vowed to be reborn in the Western Ultimate Bliss land, and Shakyamuni Buddha told them that there is another way of chanting the epithet of the Buddha. A single chant of Amitabha Buddha is equivalent to chanting multiple times of Amitabha Buddha, which is as numerous as the grains in the bucket. So just reciting that particular line is equivalent to chanting many times of Amitabha Buddha. So this method is actually from the Treasure King Treatise. Shakyamuni Buddha taught the old couple this method of chanting the name of the Buddha, and the merits just from a single chant is really enormous. When you look like a bucket of green, too many greens to count. So it was being taught to them just reciting Namo 36,119,500 Amitabha Buddhas alone. This is equivalent to many times of Amitabha Buddha. So Living Buddha Lian has experienced responses and substantiations from chanting this particular line, and he has taught this line to many disciples who have also practiced this chanting. And in accordance with Living Buddha Lian Sheng's teaching, one should be diligent when chanting the name of the Buddha. Do not think that just a single chant would actually suffice. So Grandmaster also advocated that we should diligently chant this, and we should continue to persevere in chanting Namo 36 trillion 119,500 Amitabha Buddhas. So don't only do it during an emergency, don't be lazy. It is something we need to do every day, and as much as possible, we should chant and recite this as many times as possible. And next, we'll move on to the quiz segment once again. Master Lian can take a break. And is everyone still within the game system? This will be question 3. And is Master Lian ready? Question 3. What is the main purpose of reciting the mantras of the 8 principal deities? A. To develop a grudge. B. To develop an alliance. C. To create wholesome affinity. So you can vote within Mentimeter or indicate your answer within the chat box. And the screen shows the correct answer, which everyone has answered correctly. Question 4. So this line, Namo 36 trillion 119,500 Amitabha Buddhas, which Buddha actually transmitted this phrase? A is the Maitreya Buddha, B is the Shakyamuni Buddha, and C is Amitabha Buddha. Likewise, you can indicate your answer via Mentimeter or input within the chat box. So actually, we have some people who indicated B or C, but the answer is actually B, Shakyamuni Buddha. So some might have thought that it's from Amitabha Buddha because of the name being featured as part of the line. And yes, the second round of the quiz have ended. And actually, the questions have been tricky today. Some might have been misguided. But it's all right. It's all part of the learning process. And within the Chinese language channel, coming in first is we have Xian Yun, very. And within the Indonesian language channel, coming in first, it is Veni with 3,882 points. And lastly, within the English language channel, we have Lotus coming in first with 2,896 points. Thank you everyone for your enthusiastic support and participation. And now we'll hand over the time back to Master Lian Yi. And now we are down to the summary. So after a practitioner enters Samadhi under Buddha's light, the state is one of calmness, radiance, and if one emerges from Samadhi with great joy, this is most favorable. As to the duration, it can be short or long, just be natural. So being natural is most important. And to recite the mantras of the other main deities is to create wholesome affinities with the 8 principal deities of true Buddha Tantra without differentiation. So this is important, no differentiation. And chanting the epithet, which is Namo 36 trillion 119,050 Amitabha Buddhas, it includes great significance that one will receive blessings from the trillion Amitabha Buddhas. And yeah, so it will receive blessings from trillion Amitabha Buddha. So we should not be lazy, we should be more diligent. So we have a common saying, what often exhausts people is not the distant high mountains, but rather the grain of sand in your shoe. So this is actually quite a famous saying. So the distant high mountains actually represent some of the goals and direction that we set in life. And the grain of sand in our shoe actually represents some of our shortcomings and certain difficulties and obstacles that we face in life. So there's actually a comic. Someone was traveling and he was pouring away the many grains of sand within the shoe.
大家有没有玩过这个台球？应该有 snooker 台球嘛。那在1965年呢，有一个
So back in 1965,
叫做路易斯布克斯，那么他是整10年都已经拿冠军的。那么有一次他就在决赛的时候他一直都遥遥领先。那么遥遥领先，最后还有一个黑球。如果他打完这个黑球进洞呢，他就拿冠军了。那么就在那个时候，有一只苍蝇啊，他要打球的时候呢，so
there was a famous snooker. He was actually in the games and there was a fly that actually landed on one of the balls during the final game or the final stage. So when he was about to hit any particular ball, the fly will actually land on the black ball. And Louis was quite angry and he actually killed the fly. So while being distracted by this whole process, he actually lost the game because his opponent took the chance to gain an advantage. So this story actually tells us that we should continuously look into our shortcomings, overcome them, pour away the grains of sand in our shoes. So there's another saying that we are often being beaten by ourselves. Most of the time we are being beaten by our own emotions. Whenever the emotions take over us, we make certain decisions. These decisions are usually the ones that are wrong. So whenever something happens to us, it could be interpersonal relationship kind of problems. It could So there might be certain friction. And when we face these problems, it is actually most important for us to control our emotions. Even for certain, we also see some disciples within the temple. Sometimes when we manage certain matters, everyone has different mindsets and different approaches. And there might be certain friction that evolves along the way. So how can we look at our shortcomings? So how can we look into ourselves and to cultivate our minds? So apart from cultivating our practices spiritually in our daily lives, it's important to be mindful, practice mindfulness, and actually change some of the bad thoughts and habits, turn them into good ones. So this is the famous saying that I'd like to share with everyone today. What often exhausts people is not the distant high mountains, but rather the grain of sand in our shoes. And this will be the end of our sharing. Amitabha, thank you. Thank you, Master Lian Yi, for delivering today's lesson. And similar to past lessons, the content has been really enriching. And so from today's lesson, we have understood the key points on the topic of emerging from Samadhi, chanting principle heart mantras, and reciting Buddha's epithet. And we have also listened to Master Lian Yi sharing a lot of real life stories. And I'm sure that we have gained significantly from today's lesson. So if you have any questions relating to today's class, you can indicate in the chat box. So for the different Okay, so if you have any questions, you can actually indicate in the chat box. But before that, we will answer and address last week's question. The first question, dear Master, we'd like to verify if the inner visualization practice is a form of visualization that allows one to integrate with the personal deity or main deity and stop excessive thoughts. So this is some form of insight meditation. We are looking at So actually, inside meditation, it is looking at 4 different aspects, which is the 四念处. Looking at impermanence, understanding that everything is impermanent in nature. So there's no self. So everything that has a form, it is a subject to changes. And because of certain affinities that arise, that allow that to be formed, but once that affinity is gone, then it would be gone. And the next question is, during the visualization of the four immeasurable, should our birth father be on the right or left? So in the past, it used to be right, but based on the recent update, based on what Grandmaster has updated, our birth father should be on the left and our birth mother should be on the right. So left side should be our father, right side should be our mother. And the third question, in the section duration of Samadhi, you mentioned that the seed syllable R will appear after one exits meditation or Samadhi. Will it always be the R seed syllable when we exit Samadhi, regardless of the main deity of the cultivation practice? So previously, I've actually thought that this seed actually represents a Buddha. So it's being represented by that. So it can also represent the main deity of the cultivation practice. So similarly, we can use the seed syllable. And we have a question. So Xiao Yu actually asked that one should actually brush his or her teeth, rinse his or her mouth before chanting or reciting. If not, it's equivalent to no chanting or no reciting. So this is actually a form of good practice as a form of purification. Sometimes it might be different inconveniences, but it's also okay as long as our mind is purified. Any form of environment is also purified. So as long as your mind is purified, even if you're in the toilet, the mantra that you chant is also purified. So after another question is, after reciting the heart mantras of the 8 principal deities, whether we can add on other heart mantras or sutras. So it is best to follow the particular sadhana for that cultivation section. So many times, so if it's like a group cultivation practice, it's best to follow the sadhana, because if you add on other mantras or sutras, it might lengthen the entire practice. If it's your own personal cultivation practice, you can go ahead to add on because it's your own personal time. Because if it's a group setting, it is important to consider all the disciples within the practice. So we need to be more considerate, not to delay other people's time. So for the time being, we don't have any other questions. Thank you everyone for your questions, and we'd like to give our big thanks to Master Lian Yi. And next lesson, it will be lesson 16, and we welcome everyone back next week. And today's lesson has come to an end. We would like to give our thanks to Master Lian Yi. We have other masters online. We like to express our gratitude as well. And right now, let's have Master Lian Yi say goodbye to everyone. Firstly, let's put our palms together to express our gratitude to our Grandmaster, Living Buddha Lian for giving today's lesson his greatest blessing, ensuring that today's lesson has run smoothly. And also like to thank all our masters who are online today, including our Honorable Chairman Master Cheng Zhu, Education Director Master Lian He, PR Director Master Lian Jia, Master Lian Fei, all Dharma propagators, our MC, our translators. Thank you everyone here for being here today and learning together. And we'll see you next week. And for other questions that we see online right now, we will look at addressing them next week. And we'd like to thank those who have joined us on other platforms. Thank you, everyone. And we'll see everyone next week. Thank you. Bye.
谢谢连医生，各位助教，
谢谢法师，谢
谢
谢讲
谢，
谢谢大家，阿弥陀佛。
谢谢，拜拜，感恩，下一节课见了，
拜。